Looks like our guests are slowly coming in, and well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, one more time, my name is Diane Caney. I'm the Director of Enrollment at Ohio State-Newark. Thanks for taking time out of your evening to be with us. I think we have a wonderful program planned for you this evening. I have two additional colleagues who will be joining me to learn more about the learning communities. But first of all, if I may, I want to take a little bit of time just to share a little bit about what you're going to experience at Ohio State-Newark from our perspective and from the overall perspective, and then we'll jump into learning more about the learning communities. Now, before I get started, I do want to mention that you will find a Q&A function or a button on your screen, and if you do have questions along the way, we invite and encourage you to answer questions in that Q&A area. And like I said, my colleagues will be behind the scenes answering those questions throughout the evening. We may, in fact, even answer a couple of those questions live at the end of the presentation. We promise to be considerate of your time, and we will be finished by 7:30. And typically, these events don't even last 60 minutes. But certainly ask your questions, and like I said, we are here to answer those. So without further ado, let's jump in. I do want to start my presentation tonight by having you read this anti-racism statement from The Ohio State University. I think it's very important that we all realize that we all have a part in dismantling institutionalized racist structures, and Ohio State is very committed to that. And we want our students, quite frankly, to join us in that initiative. And you can learn more at go.osu.edu/addressing racism. Next steps for enrollment. Now that you're all admitted, congratulations, first of all, but what are the next steps for enrollment? There's a lot to do. I sometimes think that students think the hard work is over once you've been admitted to The Ohio State University. Well, I'm here to tell you, I think the hard work is just beginning. There's a lot to do to prepare yourself and, let's face it, your Ohio State profile for what's to come. So students, I ask you this: have you activated your Buckeye mail? If you did, and you have, then you should be checking that mail frequently. And I'm thinking you should be checking it several times each week. We want you to submit the FAFSA. If your family has not submitted the FAFSA, the priority deadline was February the 1st. Just submit it as soon as you can. Paying the acceptance fee will put you in line to be amongst the first to receive our orientation emails, which means you'll be amongst the first to join us for a summer orientation. That can be very important in terms of course availability. You want to continue to check your to-do list on Buckeye Link, because throughout the summer and throughout your enrollment process, additional items will come and will be placed on that to-do list. Things such as the vaccination requirement or a medical exemption for that vaccination. For male students, selective service, we will be requiring your selective service number. Both of those, in addition, things like the financial responsibility statement, all of those three things I just mentioned can keep you from registering for classes come the fall semester. So you want to make sure you're checking that to-do list item or those to-do list items off your proverbial to-do list. Please forward us, and I mean our Disability Services Office, your 504 or IEP plans. That's important, students, because we want to, and you're deserving of accommodations. And so we want to prepare those way in advance of you taking our summer placement testing. That means we need those 504 or IEP plans in late April, because we need about 6 to 8 weeks to prepare your accommodations and to communicate those to you and to our community so that you're ready to take placement testing the first part of June. Then again, as I mentioned a minute ago, not only does paying your acceptance fee by May 1st get you in that first group of students who will be invited to the first round of orientations in June and early July, but it also qualifies you in the lottery for Ohio State football tickets. So that's also very important. And another reminder, submit your final high school transcript anytime after your graduation date from high school, because we must have on your final high school transcript your graduation date. So you can request that from your high school at some point this summer, and just make sure that we have it before you visit with your academic advisor and try to schedule spring term courses, because that will keep you from being able to schedule courses. The document on the left of your screen should look really familiar. It summarizes a lot or most of what I just spoke about, and it's been mailed to you. If you've attended one of our events recently, you also received this in your packet when you came to campus. I encourage you to put this on the refrigerator, pin it on your bulletin board, and continually with your family or support personnel, definitely check off the items that are important. There are lots of important deadlines looming. The very first one is the learning communities. So our event tonight is very well scheduled in terms of setting you up for success, in terms of being able to meet that deadline for the learning communities. April 1st is also, the deadline for our Ohio Means Science Scholars Program. That is a brand new scholarship opportunity for those students who are, one, interested in and really have a passion in a STEM field, science, technology, engineering, or math, and you and your family have qualified for a federal Pell Grant. If you fit that, then we definitely want you to submit that scholarship application, because that will provide you $5,000 per semester for your first year. That's a lot of money. And there's a maximum of $20,000. So it's actually $10,000 spread out over the course of your first year with us. So that's exciting to share. Mid-April is our on-campus housing deadline. We do conduct a housing lottery towards the end of April, and so that deadline is looming for many of you. April 15th is the honors program deadline. Of course, everybody knows May 1st is the national reply date. And then after May the 1st, typically it's sometime during that first week of May, if you've paid your acceptance fee by May the 1st, you'll be amongst the first to be invited to placement testing and also to register for orientation. A reminder, because this is oftentimes very, very confusing to students and parents. How does a student start on a regional campus and transition to the Columbus campus? Notice I use the word transition and not transfer. There's a big difference. When you transfer to a campus, you're a brand new student. You are not a brand new student when you begin your experience at Ohio State-Newark. You easily transition to the Columbus campus after completing 30 credit hours after high school graduation with a minimum 2.0 GPA. We do not round up, so you must have above a 2.0, but the reality is the majority of our students do just this. They complete 30 credit hours on our campus, and then they transition. And you do not need to worry about getting I shouldn't say you don't have to worry. If you're going into a competitive major, you have to do better than the 2.0 GPA. But in order for you just to transition to the Columbus campus, you minimally need 30 credit hours at a minimum 2.0 GPA. And off you go to Columbus. There is no new application process. Your grade point average will follow you to Columbus. It's part of your Ohio State record. All of your credits will go with you. And that's an important distinction. If you choose to enroll somewhere else, not only are you a transfer student to the Ohio State University at Columbus, you will also be right back in that competitive admissions process. And most importantly, if admitted to the Columbus campus, you will begin with a grade point average of 0. Your grade point average will not follow you from another institution. I think those are important things for you to think about when you're deciding on where to enroll. And yes, when you finish, it doesn't matter where you begin or where you finish, same degree, same diploma from The Ohio State University. There are 9 majors you could complete completely at Ohio State-Newark. should you decide to do that. But again, the majority of our students will transition to the Columbus campus to finish their degrees. There are several upcoming events that I want to bring your attention to. Our last Buckeye Visit Day is Saturday, April the 23rd. We do have several other virtual events coming up. March 31st is housing, April the 7th, student life, and April the 14th, disability services. Of course, because you are an admitted student, one of the most special days, I think it is a very, very special day for me, is the Future Buckeye Day on Friday, April the 15th. It's slightly different than a Buckeye Visit Day, whereas we tee up really what you can expect when you get to campus. How do you prepare for placement testing? How do you prepare for orientation this summer? What are things that you have to do to make sure that you are ready for those events? We have a lot of speakers that speak to you. The students get a student-led tour of campus, slightly different than what you've seen during a Buckeye Visit Day. And you'll go home with your first Class of Buckeye t-shirt. It is a very, very special day, so I want to promote that to all of you as well. Important links. If you have not been out there on the website, the most important one I think for all of you is the one there for admitted students. If you have parents that are joining you this evening as well, certainly invite and encourage parents to take a view of the parent corner as well. And then anytime you want to visit us virtually or in person, you'll want to visit that visit page there, the go.osu.edu/visit-Newark. Our team is ready and willing to help you. So if you have questions, if something confuses you tonight, if you're like, wow, Diane reminded me I have to activate my Buckeye Mail, but I don't know how to do it, call our office. That's what we're here for. We want to help you. We don't want there to be a delay in your process because you didn't know how to do something. So the only silly question really is the one that's not asked, to be honest with you. Call our office or email us and we will troubleshoot with you. I want to encourage you to follow us. And in fact, I hate to ruin the mailbox surprise, admitted students, but you will be getting some mail from us. Some mail that if you take pictures of yourself with certain items that you get in the mail, we're going to select a few of you and we're going to mail you out some OSU swag. Certainly, one of the most important things I think that I do is I promote our own Instagram page. That is the admissions office. It's actually our very own Stephanie Negron, who is an admissions counselor. She handles our Instagram. She keeps it fun. She keeps it lighthearted. We have a lot of fun making videos and talking with students on Instagram. So any and all of those I certainly promote. And for parents like to connect with other parents and ask kind of the parent questions. So I want to encourage you to join the Facebook group that is listed on that slide as well. I want to thank you for your time and attention tonight. Of course, there's so much more to share with you, but tonight is really about learning about the learning communities. So I'm going to introduce my colleague, Ashley Moore, and Poi Young, John, and they're going to take it from here, and I will certainly be available for questions at the very end. Ashley?
All right. Yep. Thanks, Diane. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Moore. I'm an academic success coach here in the Office of Retention Student Success Initiatives. I'll be kind of talking about our learning communities tonight, which Diane's pulling up and navigating for me. So I appreciate her for doing that. So a few things about me. I am overseeing the Buckeye Generation Learning Community and the Engineering Learning Community, which I'll discuss in a little bit. I also am a graduate of the Ohio State-Newark campus. I graduated in 2020, so now I came back because I love the campus and all the people here, and I hope you love it just as much as I do. And then I also have Po Young, who will go ahead and introduce herself as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Po Young John. I'm also an academic success coach from the Retention and Student Success Initiative Office, and I'll be overseeing couple learning communities as well. The ones that I'm in charge right now are Global Citizen Learning Community, known as GCLC, Scarlet and Great Excellence Learning Community, known as SAGE, And I'll be also working in liaison with Education Department for Education Teaching and Learning Community, also known as TLC. So you're gonna come through across all the acronyms later on, but you get used to it. But I'm excited to be here and would like to welcome you all once again to the OSU. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Bo. And actually, Bo will be answering any questions you might have come up about the learning communities kind of in the background as well as I talk about them. So with that, you might be wondering what a learning community is. A learning community is basically a group of students that are accepted into a cohort based on their background, major, identity, or any interests that they might have. We have 6 here that I'm going to be talking about tonight. You're in a learning community for your first 2 semesters on campus, so your first year. It's kind of a support system that kind of builds the community on the Newark campus for you. I'll be going over the Buckeye Generation one, which I mentioned that I oversee that currently. Scarlet and Gray Excellence, Engineering, Education, Teaching and Learning, Global Citizens, and Ohio Means Science Scholars, which Diane briefly mentioned earlier. All right, so with that, you might be wondering, why is the learning community important? What do students get out of it? I'll tell you. So if you want to switch to the next slide, Diane. All right, so with all the 6 learning communities I'm about to go over, each of them kind of have unique benefits and perks that I will get into more specifically, but all of the learning communities really take courses across the year together. So you're in classes together with similar students that are in that major or in that have that same background or identity as you. So you're around like-minded individuals. All the learning communities, you get to connect with faculty, staff, and peers. We host also and planned learning community events every month that we invite all of our learning community students to, just to kind of get that connection. You get to meet with faculty there at the events. We're there, so meeting with the Office of Retention and other peers. So we have academic peers I'll also mention as well. And then you have tons of new possibilities in the learning communities as well. So first, this is kind of our seasoned learning community. It's the Buckeye Generation Learning Community. It's created in 2012. It's our largest learning community here on campus. It's 120 first generation college students. And what first generation college student is if your parents did not receive a bachelor's degree, you would apply for that. So I'm actually a first generation college student myself. So hence why I'm overseeing the program as well. But yeah, so we'll kind of go into some of the benefits of being a part. And I also apologize, my dogs are in the background. I'm working from home today, so they might bark here and there. But with the Buckeye Generation Learning Community, we have tons of social and cultural events that we plan every month. This past month, we actually had a We Love OSU event. I guess that was in February. So we gathered the students together. We kind of planned it around February 14th, so Valentine's Day, and had a bunch of different things, had food. We did like decorated cookies in previous years and all kinds of stuff just to kind of get the learning community students together. We've also done a cultural dinner, usually around November towards the end during fall break, where students can all bring in different plates from, wherever their culture is or cultures that they appreciate. We kind of explain that and share a huge feast, which is always really fun. With that, we also have study table. Oh, sorry. So with that, we have study tables for the Buckeye Generation too. What a study table is basically tutoring. So I mentioned before, all of our learning communities take similar classes together. With that, our study tables are geared towards like BGLC courses. So this semester, we have students taking an anthropology course that kind of goes towards their gen eds for most majors. And with that, we provide tutoring for them. You also get an academic peer coach, which is like one of the best benefits. And we love all of our academic peer coaches, but those are students that are kind of upperclassmen. They've been here, they've been successful academically, and they're really great mentors to be on campus. So they kind of you're assigned an academic peer coach at the beginning of the year, and they kind of guide you through the semester, offer, they are the ones who are hosting the study tables. You can reach out to them if you have homework questions or if you just need someone to talk to. We also, they meet up with students on campus to have coffee and all kinds of stuff. And they also plan a lot of our events and put a lot of time into it. One of the other things, you get one-on-one faculty and staff support. So meeting with Poe or I, our supervisor, also Jamie White, who's the director of our department, is there to kind of connect you. And as well as we have faculty that are in each of the learning communities that are there to support you. And then one of the biggest benefits of the Buckeye Generation Learning Community is you get a $600 academic funding per year. So that's $300 that's kind of divided per semester. That money is supposed to be geared towards any books you might need. We also have had students like purchase book bags in our bookstore on campus as well. So that is always like a really nice perk to have your books paid for. Usually the $600 does pay for both semesters of books, and sometimes students have a little bit extra to spend on whatever they need. We also have priority consideration for housing. So I can kind of go in that a little bit more, but our housing deadline for the learning communities to be a priority consideration is April 15th. And to do that, you would have to pay your $350 deposit by that April 15th deadline. All right. So next we have our engineering learning community, which I also oversee. It was created in 2014. As you can guess, it's going to be 40 students of all pre-engineering or engineering majors. And so I kind of said that first bullet point. So you have to be in engineering or pre-engineering majors. We have had some students apply that were like under the exploratory, but they want to go into engineering. At orientation, you can change your major to an engineering or pre-engineering major if you want to qualify to be in the engineering learning community. Since our deadline is April 1st, you definitely want to get in contact and change your major before that deadline, just so that you are considered for the learning community. With this program, you also have improved student success. Students that are in the engineering learning community kind of have a lot of perks that kind of go with that. So engaging with the engineering profession. I think there's another slide that kind of goes a little more into that. So you have the first year engineering courses, it's 1181 or 1182 that you take your fall and spring semesters that kind of get you into that major and ready for, when you transition to the Columbus campus as well. We also have an engineering group studies course, which I'll oversee in the fall and spring semesters as well. So you'll get to see me once a week. We do a bunch of different activities, which Poe and I are actually in the midst of planning. So I'm excited to kind of have those start here soon. Another kind of benefit with the engineering learning communities, we have a bunch of unique events and experiential learning trips. So in the past, we've taken our engineers to Boeing, the Cara Lab, COSI, we're actually going to next week, which I'm very excited about. I have the chance to take all the engineers there. We kind of have lunch planned out. One of our peer coaches created like a scavenger hunt that's going to relate to engineering and kind of reflect back on that. So it's just a nice time to kind of get off campus, go and do something big as a group. That's a lot of fun. You also get the academic peer coach, which I just mentioned. A lot of our learning communities do have those. So right now we have one peer coach who's kind of overseeing the 40 students, which is awesome. And then we have one-on-one faculty and staff support as well. And then you get priority consideration for housing. So kind of what I was mentioning earlier with that April 15th deadline. Okay, so kind of transitioning, we have our Scarlet and Gray Excellence Learning Community, which Poe Young oversees. It started in 2018, and it's designed to support first year underrepresented students. We have some examples down at the bottom, if that would apply to you. And with that, we have anyone who's looking to be in our Scarlet and Gray Excellence Learning Community, you're going to be immersed into a multicultural curriculum. So we're reflecting on culture and identity and reality of those. We have a strong support system throughout the year. I would say like our Scarlet and Gray Excellence Learning Community is very close this year and super outgoing. And I think Poe can actually kind of add to that just because we do have a lot of students. The group is very close. We also have students develop a sense of belonging on campus. So having that peer support and connection on campus is really important. With that, we do have unique cultural and social events. We do have kind of events that are all learning community events, but we also have learning community events that are specific towards each one. So like I said earlier, we have a cultural dinner that's an all learning community event, but SAGE also has their own events as well. We have study tables for the SAGE courses too. And so right now I think they're taking a sociology course. Sometimes these courses do change, but I believe sociology will be continuing into next year that they will take together. You do get an academic peer coach as well. I think right now we have one, but sometimes we have two that are overseeing based on this 40 students. So you get 20 students per coach. We have one-on-one faculty and staff support again. And then for this learning community, you get a 600 academic funding per year. So like I said before, with the Buckeye Generation Learning Community, you get $300 per semester. The SAGE Learning Community also has priority consideration for housing as well. Okay. And so now we kind of move into our Global Citizens Learning Community. It's actually one of our most new learning communities. It's in 2020. It's 40 students as well, their first year. And it's basically if you are interested in anything global citizens, oh my gosh, I cannot say the word citizenry, you can definitely apply. This one is open to most students on campus. So really, it's going to be a focus on global interconnectedness and engagement within the world community. Students are going to be gaining a different understanding of cultures and countries around the world, as well as helping students develop that strong support system like the other learning communities. So with that, similar to the other learning communities I mentioned, you do have the cultural and social events as well. We do provide study tables for the Global Citizens Learning Community, an academic peer coach, one-on-one faculty and staff support. But this one is a little bit different with the academic funding. Next year, students will be provided $500 of academic funding per year. So that's over the both semesters. This can be geared towards study abroad, which kind of takes us down to the next bullet point for priority consideration for study abroad on the Newark campus, which is a huge perk and definitely something I recommend all of you get involved in, which I believe they do mention like orientation, multiple events before you start at the Newark campus as well. This year, the $500 was kind of geared towards, we did service learning projects. So some students used their money to go, we did Licking County Humane Society donations. So some of them went out and bought different donations for the Licking County Humane Society. We also donated canned goods towards Operation Feed to give to our campus food pantry on campus, which was awesome. So now we have this slide with our academic peer coaches. These are some that we currently have and some in the previous years. So like you see, like they're students like you, they've been through the program. A lot of them have been in the learning communities themselves. They're successful academically. So they are kind of responsible for mentoring you, connecting with you. They host the study tables. They are involved in a lot of training to kind of help you be successful on campus as well. So yeah, they're just great to have all around. And that all the learning communities I just mentioned are directly under us. So now kind of going into our next one, this is a major specific one. It's and like the engineering one, it's major specific. So we have our education, teaching, and learning community, which Boyoung's actually the liaison for working with this learning community. It was created in 2016 and it's about 24 students. To be considered, you have to be in early and middle childhood education, pre-majors and majors. So with this one, unlike the other learning communities I mentioned, you do have faculty mentors versus academic peer mentors. So instead of students mentoring, you'll have the faculty and staff of that department. You have academic support. We do have unique social and cultural events as well. We invite TLC to our other learning communities, so they're invited to come participate those. And we do have strong support within the majors. So having moving class to class with the same peers is really good, and it's beneficial for your academic success on campus while you're here at the Newark campus. And then you're connecting with leaders in education as well. Okay, and then lastly, our newest learning community, which is also very close to like the scholars program. It's definitely a big scholarship, which Diane had mentioned. So Ohio Mean Science Scholars Program. So this one is 15 students. You all have to be STEM majors. I know Diane mentioned some of the requirements earlier, which I might ask her to repeat those, but kind of going in that, it was made possible by the National Science Foundation. It is all faculty led. So faculty and staff of that department would be leading those 15 students that are accepted. It's research and internship based. So students will be involved in that. And each year you'll be having an immersion retreat to the Stone Lab Research Island, which is really awesome experience for students to get to partake in. We also have a strong support system within the STEM major throughout the whole year. So one of the biggest perks with this, as being a STEM major, the scholarship, you get $5,000 per semester up to 2 years. So that's $20,000 total that you could get. To kind of learn more about that, we do have the link down here at the bottom, and that will kind of explain eligibility requirements as well. So with that, I kind of shout out a bunch of information. So if you have any questions, feel free to email us. You can also visit all of our websites here for specific learning community information. One of the important things to note is our April 1st deadline. We will be accepting applications up until then. We might be extending the deadline, but please make sure you get your applications in before that, just to have priority consideration, especially if you're planning to live on campus. And to see all of them, we have the go.osu.edu/Newark LC. All right, and I appreciate all of you listening to me talk about our learning communities. I do have the email listed here below. Specifically, if you'd have any questions, we check our email daily. We try to get back within 24 to 48 hours. And we also have a direct phone call or phone number you can call as well.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah.
And students, I'm going to put a plug in for the learning communities. I was also, like Ashley, a first generation college student. I wish I would have had something like this to support me. I tell the story and I always get knots in my stomach remembering my first weeks on the college campus, trying to navigate everything by myself. Yes, I was making friends. Yes, I had a roommate, but everything was so foreign to me and so different and so new that I wish I would have had the support of a group who, I like to say, Ashley, when I describe a learning community, I use the words, you share a common thread or a common bond. And I think that's really important, students. So many of you are likely involved in other organizations at your school, or you're an athlete. Think about those organizations that are near and dear to you. You probably have your best of friends who share common interest and common threads. And now you're going off to college and it can be scary. And to land yourself in a learning community and to apply to be in a learning community, for me, for you, is a no-brainer. I ask, why wouldn't you do this? It is a great opportunity. It certainly shows how committed Ohio State-Newark is to connecting our students to success, honestly, and our success initiatives, because we give you so much in these learning communities. You heard Ashley say, many of them, several of them have a financial stipend for you, or academic support stipend. Many of them give you preferential treatment in one way or the other, perhaps study abroad, perhaps in housing. Again, I think this is a no-brainer, and I'm so glad that so many of you decided to join us tonight to learn more. Now, Ashley, for you, I wanted to go back to something that just in general, and I know you've only been with us a short period of time, but what do the students who are involved in learning communities, what do they say about being involved in a learning community?
Thanks, Diane. So actually, I would say, I was a student here, like I mentioned earlier. I was an academic peer coach, so kind of what I've explained, for 3 years. I actually worked in the office retention for a lead academic peer coach, so I oversaw all the other peer coaches, and I worked as an office assistant as well. So while during my time here, I've been in this position since probably October as full-time. Before that, I was in there for 3 years, so about going on 4 years, I'm going to be here. With that, I would say, like, through my experience, all the students that I have worked with and love it. We help students all the time. I actually have been telling people this because I think it's so funny, but we get peer reviews every year at the end of the semester and at the end of the year. And one of mine was that I helped a student change their windshield wiper blades. So really, whatever you need as a student, we are there to support you and try to find the resources to help you. We've had a lot of students that really, I actually just asked the class recently, what was their favorite part? And it was really engaging the discussions in the classes that we have. And the Newark campus, since we're predominantly a commuter campus, having the learning community kind of brings students together and builds that kind of connection that you don't typically have. So we hear a lot of reviews about that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and students, I think Ashley has given you a lot to think about in terms of the learning communities, and for me, it's all these bonuses, honestly, to putting together an application that would be selected, and for me, it's a bonus, right? I like to tell students too, it's like having your mom at college with you without having your mom at college with you. Someone who's going to put their arm around you and help you change your windshield wiper blades, help you navigate the college system that is Ohio State, that can be overwhelming and is quite large. And to have someone in your corner all the time, I think, is a win-win for you in terms of being successful your first semester, your first year, for as long as you are a part of that learning community. And what we also find is our learning community students they stay pretty well connected, not only with each other, but to our campus. And so I think there's something to be said for that because they definitely feel supported and want to pay that forward and kind of give back too when they're finished with our learning communities and with Ohio State Newark. So lastly, Paul Young, I wanted to see if you had received any questions that I should address from the enrollment or admissions side of things, or if there were any questions related to the learning communities that you would like to answer live for the benefit of everyone who's joining us.
Yes, we didn't get a lot of questions, but I think it's important for us to kind of clarify on the housing, the priority in housing, because I've seen a lot of people have questions on what does priority mean? Does that mean that you get to get lottery first? Like what's the process of housing?
Ashley, would you like to take that, or is it something that you would like me to answer?
If you could answer that, I would appreciate it.
Sure. So students, priority consideration for housing. On our campus, it's a housing lottery. So if you want to be included in the housing lottery and you're just a normal student, not involved in the learning community, your name gets tossed in that hat one time. When you are part of a learning community and you seek out campus housing and you go through the application process and you pay your $350 fee by late April, mid-April, late April, your name goes in the hat twice. So you have that much more chance and opportunity at campus housing. Again, if you're a student that really wants or desires campus housing, I would strongly encourage you to apply to a learning community where you do get that preferential treatment or priority consideration for housing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to add to that. Students that are in the learning communities, we do try to place you all on the same floor or with another learning community student, just so you are kind of getting that build, like more connection and that learning community experience that we're trying to provide. Diane also mentioned earlier how it's kind of like having a parent away from home. And that's something I always like to add to and tell students. When you transition from high school to college, especially if you're living on your own and making that transition, it's a huge thing to do. I know I've talked to so many students where it's like time management, you have that strict schedule in high school, but then when you get to college, you have a little bit more freedom and you have to actually develop that time schedule yourself. We're also here in our office to kind of support you. So I've sat down with students, they miss their parents. And so we sit down and we come up with that plan themselves. I have students stop by my office all the time just because they want to hang out. I had one stop in the other day because it was their birthday and they weren't going to see their parents. So we really are kind of a home away from home. And giving that, if I notice the student's not showing up, I'll kind of, especially if I know them more closely, I'll go up to them and be like, hey, why'd you not show up to class? So you are really getting that connection, and we really do care about the students in the learning community. Another thing I wanted to cover is I saw a student had asked about applying to multiple learning communities. So you might have received multiple emails. I know we've been sending them out like crazy, and you might also have received letters in the mail or even phone calls. Like we're currently doing recruitment calls right now. Our academic peer coaches are actually doing that. So you might actually get to talk to some of the ones that might be your peer coach next year if you were to apply for the learning communities. But with that, we really tell students to look at all of the learning communities and really consider which one that is going to be the best fit for them. If you apply to a learning community, let's say you apply for SAGE, because you really like the multicultural aspect of it, and we only accept 40 students, we will take a look at your application. If we like your application, we will see if you are eligible for any of the other learning communities, and we can accept you into those learning communities as well. Of course, we would obviously call you and see if you'd be interested in swapping. So let's say like you would fit for GCLC, we would give you that spot as well.
Mm-hmm. And students, I want to point out the photo that we are all viewing right now. Look at how happy those students are and look how different they are. I think, again, this is a great representation, not only of our campus. You may not know, Ohio State-Newark is actually the most diverse campus of the Ohio State University with 34% diversity. We're very, very proud of that. And these learning communities support students of all types of backgrounds. Ashley did a great job of kind of summarizing that for you. And again, the learning community is nothing short of amazing, in my opinion. Any of them are going to offer you great support And I'm glad you're here tonight because I can honestly say, and I know that Ashley and Po Young will support me in this, we need and we want applications. We want you to apply to a learning community. And right now, as of today, there are plenty of available seats in the learning communities, but I don't know that that will last very long. So I'm glad that you're here and glad that you've taken the opportunity to learn more tonight. Ashley or Po Young, anything else to add tonight before we say goodbye?
Just a reminder that our deadline for applications are April 1st.
Yep. And feel free to email us at any time. Any questions that pop up, you can definitely email right here or give us a call, and we are happy to answer anything that comes up. And I do see a question, when will decisions be made? We start reviewing applications. We usually get to students at the end of April with a decision, early May, but we try to get those out as soon as possible.
Great. Super. Well, again, students, I want to thank you for coming tonight. Ashley and Po Young, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys learned a lot. If you have more questions, certainly reach out. If you need help from the admission side, myself and my team are ready and certainly ready and willing to help. And of course, in terms of the learning communities, right in front of you there is the phone number and the email address. So without further ado, I'll say good night and go Bucks. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Bye.